A remake of a film from 1970s tough guy Charles Bronson is brought back to the big screen for a new millennium with tough guy Jason Statham. Hello there, everyone. I'm movie critic Nick Iacubucci back here at RealScreenReviews.com, and our next movie review is the big action remake, The Mechanic. This feature opened nationwide on Friday, January 28, 2011, and it stars along with Jason Statham, Ben Foster, Krista Campbell, and the great Donald Sutherland. The Mechanic comes to us from director Simon West, a man all too familiar with the genre of action. He has helmed big actioneers, most notably Con Air, the original Tomb Raider, and the thriller When a Stranger Calls. He now teams up with a hard-hitting leading man to breathe new life into a story made famous almost 40 years ago. Our tale begins telling us the story of a mechanic, Arthur Bishop, portrayed by Statham. Now, is he fixing cars? Not exactly. Bishop is as professional as assassins come, living by a very stringent set of rules that not only alienate him from most of society, it also allows him to make the jobs that he takes look like mere accidents. He really enjoys being distant with his professional life, that is until his very close friend and advisor, Harry, is murdered. Bishop just can't help but get personal about this job and soon vows to eliminate all that were involved. Now, the plot gets even more intricate when you factor in that Harry's son catches up with our Mr. Bishop with the same bloody agenda in mind and also wants to take over in his father's footsteps. The usually lone gunman now finds himself a mentor to a student studying to be an assassin, and before the climax has finished, twists and deceptions will arise, and the mechanic will have to fix many things, nothing more important than to make sure that nobody fixes him first. Well, people, this is not a dumb movie, especially in the first 30 minutes. I remember seeing the original and admiring the opening 15 minutes done exquisitely without absolutely no dialogue. It was the portrait of a professional doing what he does best, and even though the beginning of this feature doesn't quite match that, it is solid in quality throughout. It depicts our mechanic in the same light, and that would be taking out a target and simply making it look like he was never there in the first place. The film then does delve into graphic action and explosion sequences, but does it surprisingly to positive effect. The scenes of violence, and there are many of them, are extremely explicit but perfect for this movie, and the entire project is light years better than any of the Transporter or Crank movies. Now, people, you gotta love Statham. I mean, the guy's almost 40 years old and he's in perfect shape, and not only does he break the gender barrier, I think he completely destroys it. You know, men love this guy because he's such a badass, and women love him just to love him. He's a very quality actor as well when he wants to be, as displayed in Roger Donaldson's The Bank Job or several Guy Ritchie films. Statham, I believe, is much more than a pretty face, but I wish that he'd stop making such formula, predictable, and standard action movies. He does add some depth to Arthur Bishop, but it's this genre on a whole that's just like the same old thing. I will also add that the movie doesn't waste your time. It didn't simply add a constant love interest to our hero throughout this film because it was unnecessary, and altogether the filmmakers didn't make the movie even 1 second longer than it needed to be. It was a straightforward telling of a tale that didn't hold back when it came to the unscrupulous behavior of the protagonist. The mechanic kills people for a living, and you see him in action more than a few times. The fact that the film embraces this and you still really seem to root for Arthur is also a compliment to the movie as well. This feature also boasts supporting character Tony Goldwyn as the film's very credible and arrogant villain. I loved when he successfully negotiates the contract to end a man's life at the same time that he unsuccessfully negotiates with his teenage daughter on the phone about whether or not she is grounded. And the usually credible Donald Sutherland shows up briefly at the start of the story, but that will be just to get the events rolling. Now, this brings me to Ben Foster, who, as far as I'm concerned, has just never hit the acting bullseye for me yet. You know, he's nowhere near a bad actor, but I just don't know what it is with this guy. You know, for example, the character that he brings to life in this film is what I would refer to as a lost character. You know, that is to say that you can sympathize with him, but you just don't like him at all. And I felt the same thing when I saw Pandorum a couple of years back. The Mechanic did have a Miami Vice kind of Michael Mann feel to it, even if it totally lacked in the storyline aspect of it. You know, considering that the addition of a worthless sex scene and 2 montages to this feature could still only bring it in at 93 minutes, it's anything but an epic saga. However, for as quick as the film seems to come and go, I suppose that it pretty well succeeds on any level that it's set forth, but that comes from someone with the XY chromosome. You know, this is a guy movie, an enjoyable one as well, and if your expectations are only to be entertained, then I would recommend The Mechanic to you. A very, very restrained, but still yet favorable 2.5 stars out of 4, and remember people, I'm not always right, only when it comes to the movies. And thank you for your attention.